price improvement.
Let's get to Shana Sissel, who is the CEO of Arjun Kharpal Management. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let's get into the AI stuff. I mean, it was really underwhelming. We saw what it looked like, but it's not on the device yet. So what do you do with that if you're a consumer? What do you do with it if you're an investor?
I love the little back and forth you guys had, because it was reflective of kind of how I felt when I saw the announcement, and it was very underwhelming. And to your point, you really need the 16 to get all the benefits. The only really cool feature I saw, which will only be available on the 16, is the visual intelligence part, where you can take a picture of something and then it will tell you like what it is. I don't know about you, but I always wish I had something like that if I find a random bug in my house or trying to figure out if it's a weed or a flower. So that is interesting to me, but it is only available on the 16, so you have to upgrade. I have a 15. I know some of the 15s will have AI incorporated into it, but you won't get the full features. So I think it does cause the people who are big Apple fans, people who always upgrade with the cycle, will run out and do it. I think people who have much older phones may look to make that, finally make the upgrade. But yeah, to your point, I don't know if it's enough to really make people run out. I know every time I get a new iPhone, I never feel like it lived up to the hype.
What sort of pressure does this put on Apple to bring the AI very quickly to the device then?
Well, I think that there's a lot of pressure in that respect. They want to be able to stay competitive. But I think we all kind of miss Apple's key advantage here, which is that if you are in the Apple ecosystem, no matter how much I'm sitting here kind of nitpicking my feelings on my iPhone, I am never switching. And I think, I'm wearing an Apple Watch. I have an iPad. Like, I'm never leaving the ecosystem, even if I know that one of the competitors has a better product, because it's just too convenient. Ultimately, that's why Apple continues to win here. And while I do think it's imperative that they get these AI tools out because they don't want to fall behind, I don't think it is make or break if they're a little bit like a month or two behind the competition and they still put out a high quality product.
Shana, hang on a second. I'm just showing the audience. You might not be able to see this, but I'm showing the audience a picture of a phone with a plant on a phone. Right? And I looked up what the plant was the other day, and it told me it was a plane tree. I thought it was something else. The point is, my phone is an iPhone 11. We can already do a lot of the stuff that you were hoping for on the 16. So where's the whiz? But that's already a form of AI, and that's on an 11, let alone all the other devices.
Yeah, but as I said, they are rolling out some of it, but the part that I thought was cool, and I know there's apps that do this, but I like the idea of it just kind of being in my iPhone, is like, if I see somebody wearing a dress that I really like, take a picture, figure out where I can buy it, that kind of thing. And I don't think that there's an opportunity to do that with the current iPhone. Like I said, I have a 15. I know I can get the plant stuff. I don't think I can get the bug stuff. Having the ability to do it with anything is kind of the cool part. And that is kind of where we push it forward. But again, to your point, is it enough of an impetus for people to go out and run and get the latest and greatest? I don't know if it is.
Shana, a lot of the focus around Apple over the past few years has been around that sort of multi-billion-dollar services business and how well they've been able to monetize their software and services. What does Apple Intelligence do to that business? Does it move the needle? Is there a new leg of growth in terms of being able to monetize, charge subscriptions for some of these AI services? Perhaps not today, but in the future?
I'm sure there is, but at the end of the day, I don't know if this is a competitive advantage as much as a need to do to make sure that you aren't falling behind kind of move. Ultimately, AI is the future for pretty much everything. And Apple was slow to this party. And so for that reason, this is a very important development at Apple to be able to maintain market share, but I don't know if it's enough to take market share. But you never know what else Apple could be working on. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Apple be as innovative as it once was when Steve Jobs was the visionary. I feel like they play it safe. I haven't seen them do anything kind of out there. So I'm not overly enthusiastic. Now, the stock is a different story. You got to separate like the vision and how interesting it is, like in NVIDIA, where you kind of get caught up in the potential opportunity versus Apple, where obviously there's growth opportunity and things of that nature, but it really comes down to the valuation of the stock and whether or not it's attractive from that perspective. But overall, for the company, AI is more of a you have to do it than this is going to be a huge competitive advantage.
Every time we get a new iPhone, we see some of the big under-the-hood improvements, the new chips, advancements on the camera, etc. But does Apple need to innovate more on the hardware front? We've seen in China, Huawei release a tri-folding phone. Samsung's already in foldables, the Flip and the Book style. Does Apple need to jump into this space as well?
I do think they need to be innovative, but I regret to inform you that the flip phone is not a new thing. I had one myself like 20 years ago. It's just rebuilding something that was already there. But I digress. The point being is that, yes, I do think they need to be innovative. They need to come up with something flashy. Every time they get a new iPhone, I come out thinking I'm finally going to have a camera that blows me away, and I'm always disappointed. Maybe I just don't know how to use it correctly, but I feel like if they really, really want to make a splash, they have to do something like really different. And again, to your point, innovative in design, innovative in functionality, but it's been more of the same for years now. And I think that if they really want to make a splash and really do something to, get people excited and drive the upgrade cycle, they really need to introduce something that nobody saw coming.
Yeah, look, Shana, Jim Kirk had a flip phone on the Starship Enterprise in 1968, so I'm with you all the way on this one as well. But I'm going to go back to your valuation, because, look, you can barely find an analyst out there who doesn't like the stock. In fact, there's one seller in the entire universe. It is currently on this one. 11 holders, 24 buyers, 12 strong buyers as well. I know that you've owned this stock personally and your family owned it, and your firm doesn't own this one, so I thought I'd get those disclosures out of the way. But what's the catalyst for you getting more excited about a stock that you already own? I mean, do we need to see a price demise, or actually has it just got to grow into the current valuation?
It's got to grow into the current valuation. It is one of the cheaper of the Mag 7 and the S&P 500. And in terms of the other tech names that everybody is really excited about, it certainly hasn't kept up pace, which is kind of why it's attractive. But, as somebody who's been following this stock for a really long time, I distinctly remember pitching this stock to a portfolio manager at Fidelity, and right before the iPhone launch, and him telling me I was crazy thinking the stock would be worth $100, because I think it was worth like $8 at the time. I was totally right. I am not as excited about the stock, and I don't see that kind of upside today that I did in 2006. But I do think that as a leader in the technology space and the way that they've built their ecosystem, they're not going away, and they are a well-run company, but I would like to see them do something innovative like they used to get more excited about the stock. But I do think it's a good stock at its current valuation. There's upside potential. Do I think this is like, a 300% increase or, NVIDIA 2.0? No. But I do think it is an attractive stock at this valuation, and that there's opportunities for upside from here.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? The stock doing nothing in after hours, 0.01, I think. Flat as a pancake. Does suggest we all fell asleep on the back of the announcement. Shana Sissel, thank you so much for joining us, CEO of Banry and Capital Management. Well, let's get to Huawei, the opposition. They will unveil a